locals, Rob Braxman at locals, robbraxman.locals.com. And don't know, this is not, you know, carved in stone yet exactly how I'm going to do this. And I might actually do a simulcast with Rumble. So robbraxman.locals.com. So I invite you to sign up on robbraxman.locals.com if you're interested in doing all these live streams. As I mentioned before, live streams are not a positive thing here on YouTube. I'm not. It certainly doesn't help my numbers here on YouTube. It actually hurts. So here on YouTube, I lose followers every time I do a live stream. So it kind of begs the question of why do it, right? So anyway, it's free to go to robbraxman.locals.com, and I want to just see, if we can build a community there. There's only a couple hundred some people that have signed up there so far, but there's so many of you here for example, those who watch on Odysee, where they go for live streams. They don't want to go on YouTube, and I don't know if they go on Rumble, but on Odysee I got 84,000 followers. I'm actually the number 7 creator on Odysee. So anyway, Nays Gordon, thank you very much. Well, I don't really comment on crypto. That's nice to know. I'm not sure I like it high. I probably like it low. At least now. Can get higher later. But yeah. Okay, so the topic is very, very interesting. I just kind of slowed down to give people a chance to sign in here and see the opening ads from YouTube. And then we can get deep into the topic here. The topic is a continuation of what I presented in the last video, which was about the convoluted system of security provided by the public key infrastructure, PKI, which basically is the RSA certificates that, hey, Vlad says hello. So the RSA certificates that are used to supposedly encrypt the internet and the flaws that are in that. So I'm going to give you an example flaw, and then I'm going to go from there and just start up with something on a more basic level, and then we'll see where it goes. So again, as I said before on the video and in past videos, the way certificates work is that each site publishes a public key. So if you look at your browser, you can actually see the public key of the browser. That's published, it's open, anyone can go look at that public key and use it. Now, what do you use the public key for? Well, what you do is when you have the public key, you can encrypt a message to the site. So if you need to sign in to the site, you negotiate it using this public key. So what happens is the site talks to the user talks to the website or platform and uses the public key to encrypt the message. So at the other end of it, the platform can then look at the message and say, I can decrypt this, and I can decrypt this because I have the private key. So then the site will say, oh, you want to log in? You want to log in? So I can see your login credentials, and I'm going to use that to log you in to the platform. And that's done by encrypting the original message. Actually, it's more complicated than that. There's a lot of exchanges. In a typical website, it's actually converted to AES 256, but the initial exchange of parameters to make a encrypted connection comes from this initial exchange with public keys. Once you do that, once you use the public key and the other side decrypts it, a message is passed to start another encrypted session with a new passkey, and it goes into something called symmetrical encryption, and both sides now have the same encryption message. The problem is, if you can intercept that, then of course you can see what the passkey is, and you say, oh, that's the new passkey, therefore I can read everything that's going on. So that's the basic problem with well, there's no problem yet. I'm just saying that this is how it works. I haven't stated the problem. Okay, there's no circle of death here on, let me see, is there, no, everything is running fine on the, I can see it on Rumble, I can see it on Restream, everything is running fine. Okay, so the problem that I'm going to tell you now is, what if I'm running a website? I do run a website, it's called brax.me, right? Many of you go in there, there are, I don't know, 90-some thousand of you on Brax.me. And if you go on Brax.me and you need to buy from the store or whatever, you use the same encryption. You take the public key certificate, your browser then encrypts the message, and then in theory only my site can decrypt the message to the store, and then we process the transaction. Everything is cool, okay? Now, here's the problem, folks. What if I said, I'm going to be the bad guy. I'm going to be the bad guy. Here, I own this site. I'm going to be the bad guy. I'm going to share my private key with a 3-letter agency. Okay, so this is a one-site action. One website says, I'm going to share the public key, the private key, with a 3-letter agency. What happens then? What happens then, folks? Well, what happens is that the 3-letter agency can then intercept and see the traffic to that site completely from anyone. So anyone going to that site can do that. Now, I could have given the private key willingly. Maybe I was paid money and I said, oh, I'll take your money and give you the private key. Or the other possibility is somebody steals the private key from me, maybe goes into my computer, steals the private key, or gets into the server, steals the private key, said, oh, now we can break in, now that we have the private key, now we can go attack this site, and we can then see everything that goes on in there. Okay, you see that that kind of danger here, because the security is based on having this private key secure. Whether willingly or not, if somebody gets a hold of that private key, the whole aspect of security on that website is completely gone. Now, I didn't mention this in the video. What I'm talking about today is stuff that is in addition to what I discussed in the video. This is not about necessarily about governments doing this, but let me just expose the weaknesses of the whole infrastructure. So this is one. If you willingly give a private key or unwillingly have it stolen by some other party, that party can then be a man in the middle. And then that means that that party can listen in to the conversations, and you can assume then that they can see everything in plain text. All I have to do is put the man in the middle right before the website. Put maybe at the ISP, go listen in at that point, and they can see all the traffic. Okay, so I gave an example of Brax.me, but let's use any example. Let's say I want to see what everyone's saying at Facebook, and Facebook obviously can see everything you're saying and stores it forever and ever in their databases. But what if a third party wants to intercept that? And they have the same issue here. They stole a private key, or the private key was given to them for a fee. Let's say Facebook said, oh, we need some extra money because, business is down at Facebook nowadays. So why don't we give the governments, the 3-letter agencies, a way in? We're going to give you access to data, but we'll charge you however many millions. Hey, you can capture all the data on Facebook on your own, and it will cost you, so many tens of millions, and here's the private key. Okay? Could you do that? Could you do that? Now, this is kind of the hard way, I have to admit, but you can do that. And that's one of the weaknesses of this whole system. Okay? So if somebody has that private key, this is not even a man in the middle per se. What I'm telling you is just simply the whole public key infrastructure and what can happen if somebody has that private key. Let me tell you something else. Let me tell you something else that three-letter agencies have been doing. Three-letter agencies continuously scour the internet for signs of these private keys. I read that somewhere. For example, old hard drives, servers that you set up at an ISP and then you leave it you leave it open, and then you let go of the server, and then somebody comes in there and strips off the public key, which they can use then. The private key, which they can use then to break into the site. So those are some of the issues that we are faced with. Now let's complicate this issue a little bit more. Let's complicate this issue a bit more, just so you understand this problem here. The whole public key infrastructure is based on a hierarchy. So the top hierarchy starts with the root trusted authority, the top level. This is the level that supposedly then trusts or puts trust in intermediate certificate authority. So the top level is root. I don't see where this is going. The same thing could happen with a I don't see where this is going. The same thing could happen with a pre-shared key. Okay. So let's say now you're at the root level. Okay, I told you this example in the video. There should only be one root. The root is, used to be VeriSign, but whoever the root authority is, I presume is, I don't know who manages that. ICANN, which is over here near me, actually. I know where the building is. So that's where all the domains are managed. So that's, is that where the root is? I don't actually know. I don't actually know where it starts. But there's only one root authority, and that root authority then grants rights to intermediate authorities. So as an example, the root authority will grant rights to Komodo, or DigiCert. Some of these, it used to be VeriSign. VeriSign used to be the top level. And as I told you the story in the video, VeriSign screwed up because they were owned by Symantec, and Symantec screwed up and basically cheated on the entire internet and got faced with destruction. Let's say you were the root authority and you said, you know what? I'd like to make some money on the side. Maybe some guy in the root authority says, I'd like to make some money on the side. What if I secretly passed the root certificate private key to a three-letter agency for a fee? Again, this is not some man in the middle here. This is not yet a man in the middle case. This is just a direct case here where somebody's private key is just given. No change. The certificates are the same. Everyone is able to use the same certificates they use. But somehow they give the private key to somebody else. Well, let's say that somebody else is a three-letter agency. What actually happens? What happens is whoever has the private key can now approve any website. They can then create duplicates of every website imaginable globally around the world, even in any country. Because if you own the root, you own everything. And what that means is that they can now be a man in the middle and be able to see the entire internet encryption just because they have this private key. This is like crazy stuff, but this is exactly what's involved here. Now it gets worse, guys. It gets worse. Because as I showed you on Windows, Windows has multiple root authorities. I thought there was only supposed to be one root authority, and there are like a million root authorities in there. And one of the primary root authorities is Microsoft. And what does a root authority do? They authorize intermediate authorities. If the root authority, by the way, being a root authority is nothing more than putting a certificate in your computer. That's it. There's no actual validation of the root certificate is actually valid. All that means, a root authority means that somebody installs a certificate on your computer, suddenly they're the root authority. There's no way for you to review it, to say, hey, I want to check the permission of this root authority. And I'll tell you some things that one would think you would do to justify a root authority. For example, if I were to be more certain about what happens here, I'd like to be able to see that what is the privacy policy of each of these root authorities and why are they a root authority? What gives them the right to install a certificate on my computer? Why? Why are they installing the root certificate on my computer? That gives them some right to listen into my private communications without my permission, without my knowledge. I'd like to know why. Why are you there? Why does Microsoft need a root certificate? Why don't they just get a normal certificate from whoever, pay that company, instead of them being an unvalidated root authority on Windows? This means every Windows computer could theoretically be given a man in the middle by Microsoft to any party. This means that Microsoft itself could give the private key to a third party, like a three-letter agency, and anyone can spy on any Windows computer just by having a root authority that's not actually a validated root authority that's supposed to be on the internet. It's really strange. Now, let's make this even stranger. Okay, the Linux operating system, if you looked at it, it has zucking Microsoft on there. Why is Microsoft root authority in a Linux computer? What the zuck is that all about? What the zuck is that all about? And there's some other. I looked at because I'm using Pop OS. Why is there? No, I'm using Ubuntu. This is on a server. Why does my Ubuntu server have Amazon root certificates and Microsoft root certificates? Well, I know why there's an Amazon root certificate. No, I actually don't know why. I thought there was I wasn't checking a Microsoft. Amazon AWS server. I was using a Linode server. Why do my Linode servers have Microsoft authorities by default? That means that the copy of the server software installed by Linode has those certificates preloaded in there from Amazon, Microsoft, and whoever else. Why is that? Why is that? Because anytime you put a root certificate that's not trusted, means they can watch your traffic. They can watch your traffic. And I told you that if, let's say Microsoft, so Microsoft is not really an official root, because there's only one root. There, it's whatever runs the old VeriSign. Is that who's running that now? Is that Komodo running that? I don't know. But the main root organization is the only one that can supposedly authorize certificate authorities, and now anyone can insert themselves as a root authority, in which case they can sell that private key to anyone. So now Amazon is loaded up on Linux. So what does that mean? Amazon sells it to the government? What does that mean? Microsoft sells it to the government? What about even those regular suppliers of certificates, Komodo, DigiCert, etc.? Now that VeriSign is no longer in business. Now the one I use is called Let's Encrypt, which is free. And the thing about Let's Encrypt is that the certificates are only valid for 3 months. So even if you stole a private key, it's only valid for 3 months. So that's actually pretty good, because what can you do? I mean, you're gonna, if you stole a certificate or private key, it's not gonna be worth much in a short period of time. So it's one of those paid ones. But again, you don't even need to worry about that, because if you have a root certificate, you can fake the certificate of any website. You can fake the certificate of any website once you have a root certificate. So maybe this is all complicated for you guys, but it's what I'm trying to explain to you is that this is so sucked up. Okay, if I were to have a system of validation, I'd like to make sure that the root certificates are really truly root authorized, and that they come from an actual organization called root, and with an office with security guards. And I want all trusted authorities of this root authority to have published records of every zucking certificate ever issued, and put it in a public website so we can see every certificate issued by every trusted authority. And then when I look at a trusted authority, I want to see not only the history of certificates they issue, and I want those certificates to be validated by the root certificate to make sure that nobody's cheating and coming up with their own roots and so on. I don't want any multiple roots like what they're doing now, where you install your own root in a computer and nobody stops you. Then what is the point of this public key infrastructure? It's all fake. We are being faked here. We think that we have encryption. We actually don't. What is actually happening is we have selective encryption. We can only encrypt what the government or some party thinks is not important to them. And if it's important to them, they can break the encryption. I mean, that's how zucked up this is. But if this were all auditable, where every transaction is mathematically put in a ledger, maybe as some sort of blockchain certificate releasing, where nobody can backtrack and cheat. And if you issue a certificate that we verify against a zucking blockchain, then they can't escape. But we don't have this kind of system. We don't have this. What we have is this whole iffy system that doesn't have any real sense of verification, where anyone can state themselves as a root certificate. I told you in that video, I gave you the example. It's so simple in that video. Such a simple explanation. I showed you how I installed Avast antivirus. And the Avast antivirus installed a fake root certificate without any concern or any limitations to it. And then it was able to read all the zucking internet traffic. Avast was able to do that. You don't think that's zucked up? You don't think that's zucked up? That even the antivirus can load their own root certificates? There's no limitations whatsoever. No limitations whatsoever. Nobody actually thought about, how do we make sure that nobody issues fake certificates? The only way that Google has managed to stay ahead of the game with root certificates being faked for the Google site is that Google became their own certificate authority, which is suspect right there as well. So Google could theoretically then read traffic as well, but they became their own authority. So Google.com is not issued by any other site but themselves. So what happens is the Chrome browser then is able to check who the authority is for their certificate. And the authority has to be Google's certificate authority, their intermediate certificate authority. That has to be the one that provided the certificate. If that's the case, then the certificate is considered valid by Chrome. Otherwise, it's not. So then all the Google certificates are issued by this Google intermediate certificate. And so now Google's safe from having a man in the middle. Except now, Google, being an intermediate certificate holder, can themselves fake every website. There's the craziness about this. Google can also sell their private key. Google can put any website and say, okay, we want to duplicate the domain facebook.com and put it on Chrome, and then somebody can use a three-letter agency can then read all the traffic to Facebook. And there are no restrictions to any of this because there, like I told you, there's no policing of what a root certificate authority can issue. They can issue certificates galore. There's no limit. So anyway, this is the craziness of this system, and the problem is, just to summarize what I'm talking about here, is that we live in a very dangerous world. We are told that we live in an environment where our transactions are secure, where we don't have anything to worry about because we have HTTPS, TLS, same as TLS, as our encryption key supplier with these certificates. And because of that, then our internet experience is safe. And now I'm telling you that it is not safe. It is not safe. The internet encryption experience is made safer only when we can do end-to-end encryption. So if you use an application that does end-to-end encryption, it doesn't use these certificates. So if you use an app like Session, which is my favorite, or an app like Signal, which is not my favorite, but I use it, you are finally more secure. You don't have to worry about, well, you worry about a little bit, but not as much, because any communication you actually do on a Signal or a Session will be actually secure, except now they want to break that. So the TLS or HTTPS or this whole public key infrastructure is actually not safe, HTTPS and all that. No, some countries have broken it. All they have to do is preload a root certificate on every computer sold in that country, or require you to download something. That's it. They can just say, by law, you have to install this little thing in here. And then that's it. You break the encryption. But if you use end-to-end encryption, it's the only time that supposedly you would have been safer. And this is why the government doesn't complain about HTTPS, because they can break it. Okay? So now the problem is, now they want to break end-to-end encryption. So guys, very soon we will have nothing. Okay, how do they want to break end-to-end encryption? I already told you they want to do client-side scanning. They're going to force the OS to scan the device, maybe the OS, maybe something else, to scan your device pre-encryption or post-encryption and ignore the encryption in the middle. They can scan the content, scan your files, scan your traffic before it gets encrypted. And since HTTPS isn't guaranteed to be secure anymore, what the zuck do we have? And you think you have some privacy. And some of you think, oh, this guy is just a fearmonger, a conspiracy theorist. And I'm telling you some real facts here about how this works. And it's pretty iffy. It is very iffy. It's very sketchy kind of system here. How hard is it for somebody in secret to steal a private key and sell it to somebody? How hard is that? You think that's really impossible for somebody to do that? I mean, we have whistleblowers all the time, people stealing secrets. Why can't somebody steal private keys? You mean they can't do that? Of course they can do that. So anyway, we'll continue on in a moment. Let me just take a short station break as I discuss our sponsor. So my sponsor is Akamai Linode. I told you that Linode has been expanding. They actually have new data centers. I've actually included some of those new data centers in Bytes VPN already. They opened up Seattle, Chicago, and they have two that I haven't used yet, but I will shortly, and that's Miami and Washington, D.C. And they have, in the West, they have Northern California, they have Dallas, they have Atlanta, they have New Jersey, they have Toronto. What else did I miss? So they got all those in there already, and then they added these other ones. They added also Indonesia. They added a couple more in India. Added some more in Japan. I mean, they're like all these. So I'm going to be adding myself some Bytes VPN servers in Miami shortly. So that's one of the ones that can be added, and then in Indonesia. And the Netherlands was added too. So I already added Sweden, Milan, Paris. So I mean, that's like we're expanding here because of Akamai Linode expanding. So this is really great because it's showing a growing company and one of the least expensive ways to do data centers is through Linode, and it's with excellent support. Nothing has changed. They still have, I told you that I talk to them, almost every day. And, because I run so many services on Linode that I'm always talking to somebody in tech support, or my staff is talking to them. And so there's communications daily, and they're just such an easy company to deal with. And I've gotten such good service versus I had a problem with Amazon AWS, and there was no support. You got to pay for support, so you end up with no support. So anyway, if you're considering setting up a server on the cloud, let's say for a web server, you should use that code linode.com/RobRaxman, and they're going to give you a $100 credit that you can use within 60 days. Okay, so you two had a commercial at the same time. I had a commercial. Wow. Okay, it's not my intent to put that many YouTube commercials on here, but it takes them a while. So when I finish this video, I can't edit the video, and I have to wait for YouTube to get done. And what they do is they start putting in all this mid rolls, and they've been putting it at like every fucking 5 minutes. There's a commercial. So I'm sorry about that. I got to go in and remove the commercials manually, and I have to do it after they're done. And I can be asleep when this happens, so sometimes it's not easy to do. So so that's not the intent. I don't want to broach with commercial, but I'm not the one doing it. It's actually YouTube doing that. So what security certificate should we turn off? Well, I turned off anything to do with the old Symantec, the old VeriSign, and Microsoft. That's what I said in the video. But there's some other ones that you can just turn off and see what happens. If it doesn't sound right to you, for example, if it's from a foreign root certificate and you don't know who it is, turn off and see what happens. The worst thing is that it's not going to validate a website from that country. So somebody said there was some effect in Windows with blocking all of the certificates from Microsoft. Had to do with user access controls, UAC. I don't know. Maybe it's only one of those certificates that control that. But yeah, I mean that's the worst thing that can happen is you go to some site and it doesn't validate it doesn't validate that site. But at least you know what's causing it. Yeah, yes, meticulous. Every 5 minutes. I mean, that's crazy. Why would you put every 5 minutes on a live stream by default? For goodness sakes. And when I set up the video, the live stream, it gives me an option, and I choose advertising conservative. That's the lowest I can choose. And they're doing that. The lowest conservative setting is every zucked 5 minutes. Wow. That's pretty crazy. So, let's see. What do you expect Musk to do? Musk is not going to do anything. I already have Singapore asymptotic. Singapore already exists. Australia already exists. Japan already exists. So yeah, so those are already on my VPN. I want to tell you something though, and I wanted to spend some time doing this in a live stream, but let me just tell you. So as you guys know, and I run the a Braxmail email service, and I just made some major modifications on it, and I'm very proud of what I've been able to do with our little company is able to support this sophisticated email system. So what we did is we now have 7 domains that are given to you when you sign up to our email. Our email is $50 a year. So you have 7 domains, which means you basically have 7 standard email addresses. But it really goes more than that. You actually have an unlimited number of email addresses. And the way we do this is now you can add an alias. So let's say your name is John and your email is john@braxmail.net. That's one of the 7 domains. And some of the other domains are more obscure and you don't really know who the provider is. Like email1.me is one of them. So anyway, what we've done is we allow you to put an alias by putting a dash after your username. So if your username is John, you can put john-amazon@braxmail.net. You can put john-paypal@braxmail.net. So what happens is you can actually put your email with some other identifier in there and then go to each of these platforms and use that as your sign-in. And what will happen is then if you get spam, you'll know where it's coming from, because the name can be unique. So you can have an unlimited number of aliases. You don't have to define them in advance. Just put a dash after. You can have an unlimited number of aliases, and that's one of the new features. So unlimited number of aliases, 7 provided domains. So the best for you to have a short username, and then you can put the aliases so your email's not too long. So this is now part of our service. Our service now includes webmail, so you do not have to set up a client. Just go call up your mail on a browser or on a phone, browser on a phone, browser on a computer. Go to the webmail, web.braxmail.net. Sign in with your username and preferred domain, and you can interact right there, and you don't need to set up a client. The other thing that we do, is we do not put your IP address in the email. This is one of the biggest leaks that there is. The biggest leak that you have is that your email actually, for most of the providers of email, actually puts your IP address on the email. And so you are exposed. So unless you're using a VPN, every email you send could actually expose where you are. and expose your identity, and likely are sorted by IP addresses and email address at the 3-letter agency that collects all these. So one of the things that we do is that we do not put the IP address in the header. So if you send an email to some party and they don't know who you are, and they don't have a way of finding your location, because they won't be able to find your location directly from the email because it's not in the header. But even beyond that, if they actually come to us, and let's say a government comes to Braxmail and says, we demand that you give us the logs of a particular user, I can guarantee you, my friends, that Braxmail does not collect the IP address of our subscribers. There is none. I wanted to show it to you live and show you the logs themselves and show you that there is no IP address on there. So we do minimal logs where we can, unless we're debugging, then we turn them on. But still without IP addresses. We don't need the IP addresses. It's not important for what we do. So that's one of the security things that you get when you have Braxmail. So guys, this is a safe way to do email where nobody's tracking you. We're not recording your IP addresses. You do not need a VPN to use Braxmail, and neither do you need anything else to set up to run it on a browser. So this is pretty cool, and hopefully this will expand the use of Braxmail. We've been adding all these features, and so that's $50 a year. And all you do is you set up your username and password on Braxme. I cannot see your password. And then you're good to go, and you can start using it. Fantastic, huh? Okay, so that's that. And we do not have any storage limit. So as long as you're not abusive. If you're abusive, then I may tell you to move on. But if you're not abusing the system, this will be a fantastic opportunity to have a safe email instead of relying on Gmail or you think you're actually getting a good deal when you're getting it free, but you're not. Okay, so I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. Okay, let me look at some of your other questions here. I need super secure instant communication for a large chemical company. They get hacked with phishing email. Mindy, if you're a corporation, what you need is an XMPP server. If you're a corporation, you can have your own communication system. You do not need to rely on email. What's the most secure system that you can run internally, meaning only you have it? XMPP. You can set up an XMPP on Linode. In fact, it's on their list of applications that they already support. Run your own XMPP server, and you manage your own users in there, and you can make it private so other people can't see it, and unless they're aware it's an XMPP server. Like I do xmpp.brax.live. That's something I offer to Braxme people, and they can use it. They can use that XMPP provider, and I run that server. You could set up your own server. You don't have to rely on any public entity. If you're a corporation, that's the way I would do private communications. Set up an XMPP server, then you're not using any external party, even if it's Signal or Session. Why would you need to do that if it's only in internal communications? So what you need to do is set up an XMPP server. Have some techie do that for you. XMPP server. Okay, so just so you know what you can use. Do not rely on email. One of the worst things you can do is email. Especially if they all work for the company. You can give them the XMPP address and say, here, log in here. XMPP, by the way, is a protocol. It's not an app. There's apps that use XMPP protocol on every platform. There's ones on Linux, on Windows, on iOS, and Android. So So all you have to do is find an application that uses the XMPP protocol for that platform, and you can use that. There's many. So I have a list of I think I have an XMPP server video, and then you can kind of see what I'm discussing in there. I don't know why I need to see a cartoon nut element. Is that okay? Where do you get this? Where do we get this techie to do that for us? Where do you get this techie to do that for you? If it's a corporation, I can set it up for you for free, obviously. Or I can have my techs do it as well. But somebody just has to learn how to do Linux. So if you're a corporation, you must have a tech department, IT department. So they can set it up. Right? The attachment limit on our servers is 25 megabytes. 25 megabytes per message. That's pretty standard. I think the standard on the default is 10. So if you install a server, by default it's 10 megabytes. Because people don't like big attachments on email anymore. So that's, it slows down the whole internet. So normally you would pass a link to some other site, like something equivalent to a Dropbox, and you do not actually put the images in or whatever you want to do. You don't put that into the attachments anymore. But I've increased it to 25 megabytes on Braxmail. So they have no IT department. They hired me for cybersecurity help. I said you need IT. Yeah. So Mindy, yeah. So if you're techie, then you just have to learn how to install XMPP. I mean, the instructions are on the XMPP site. Do not use zucking X to do private messaging. That is so zucked up. What is private about X? Nothing. Some people actually communicate using zucking Facebook Messenger. OMG. That's crazy. So you want your conversations to be public then? Then why even use that? Then you're better off with email. Keep it away from Zuck. So no, please don't do something like that. You can make your own Signal server as well. Why would you make your own Signal server? That doesn't make any sense. So if you want your own server, the easiest thing to set up is XMPP. It's not very hard to set up. It's not that hard. Little Linux, set up a server, install some apt install commands, you're done. Set up a domain. Oh, by the way, I had talking about Elon here. I got reminded of my car. One of our cars was totaled. So now I got to buy another car. So yeah, totaled. Nobody was injured, but totaled car. So I'm saying, well, what am I going to buy now? So yeah, it was too bad too. We had no problem with the car. It was, it's a Mercedes. Everything was running great, and it's expensive to run a Mercedes. So I said, you know what? I don't think I want a Mercedes anymore. I'm tired of this. So it was an autopilot. No, somebody else hit the car. So anyway, I'm as much as you don't like Elon, I'm thinking of getting another Tesla. Why? Because I had never paid for anything on my Tesla. Nothing. No maintenance. So it's like It's like, once you buy it, the only cost to you is tires every few years, and that's it. There's no oil change, nothing. And then of course you don't have to pay for gas. So yeah. So I was like looking at that. This is just small talk, guys. I mean, some of you hate electric cars because you think you're making an environmental statement. Well, I don't make environmental statements. I just like the car because it doesn't cost me anything to run it. I'm saying, should I get a Mercedes? Like I've always had a Mercedes, and I said no. I guess a Mercedes, you just to even change the zucking oil is $1,500 every year. Change oil, $1,500, and they say, oh, you need to change tires too, $500 a piece. Fuck. Tired of that. When you log in and Braxme says app crash, does that mean you're blocked? Yes, John Nada. That means that you've been doing something fishy and the system blocked you. So somebody has to manually unblock you. So maybe you're trying to set up too many new accounts, or it detected something that you're doing. So treat yourself a 2024 Chevy Chevelle S. Oh my gosh. So yeah, as much of you complain that the fact about Elon, the fact of the matter is the cars don't have any operational cost. So yeah. But he's selling us out to the CCP. Well, he's not going to sell me out. I mean, if he sells me out, then I sell the zucking car. Will you make Brax Tesla with open source software? I don't really have any. There are things that the car does that I don't like, but it's not really a data collection center. So for that reason, I'm not finding things that rise to the occasion where I can panic and say it's tracking me and doing this and that compared to Google. So like Google, what is it? What's the Google version of Waymo. Waymo is the dangerous one. It's online to Google every second, whereas Tesla does not have to be online. So computer mechanics need to start charging $120 for an oil change and $300 for other fluids. Question about Nextcloud Talk using turn server. Do I really need one? Do you really need a turn server? Yeah, you need a turn server, but if you're running your own turn server, then obviously you don't have to be too concerned. So you can run your own turn server. So the problem with the turn server is intercept the traffic to your Nextcloud between the users on the other side, because you could be behind a protected network like a NAT, at your home. So the way you get around that is the turn server is in the middle and then accepts traffic from both and then redistributes by having a constant connection on both ends. Then you don't directly talk through the closed network. The problem is obviously someone could intercept traffic at the turn server. I discussed that in the video. But if you own the turn server, then no. It's nice to imagine Rob becoming so successful in his current business that the Brax car becomes possible. No. Not going to happen. I don't have time for that. Do you think Wechat? No. No. I don't even need to finish that sentence. Hell no. Zuck. Wechat is like the spy machine. They use Wechat in China to, if you're flagged by the social scoring system to be enemy of the state, they block you from using Wechat to use digital currency. So you can't use your phone to pay, basically blocking you. And since in China everything is digital now, you're pretty much shut down. So stupid thing. I mean, no, heck no, don't do that. My sister had an older model Benz, and even years ago, parts and shops were hard to come by. And nowadays, diesel prices are ridiculous. Yeah, the car that we totaled is a diesel. So it's a diesel SUV. So it's a newer car with a diesel. And the reason we got that is, yeah, it's going to be more fuel efficient and all that. And we already had an electric car. And it turns out that diesel is so expensive now. And now they don't even want you to have diesel anyway. So, but here in California, the problem is if you have an older Mercedes, it doesn't pass the smog check. So although the car may be running, it may not pass the smog check, in which case you got to get rid of it. So you have no choice. So I'm actually thinking of replacing it with just a cheaper Tesla. So like a Model 3. Model 3s are very cheap now. They're cheaper than a Toyota. Yes, if you want a cheap car, then Model 3 is cheaper than a Toyota. No, I cannot de-Google anything you want to de-Google. Have you ever built an IoT device of any kind? Of course, I've done, Mindy. In fact, I have security cameras, detection devices, and all that. I used to sell, based on Raspberry Pi, they were all IoT devices. And I connected them. I wrote the whole software for it. They were written on the Pi 3B. And then it was just too costly to implement. And I couldn't compete with like Chinese prices because I have to buy the hardware instead of in China they make their own hardware. So no. So I can make IoT devices for myself, but not to market. Never selling my red 2003 F-150 SVT Lightning. Until they go broke, because I hear they had some problems with that. They closed down the factory. They laid off one of the shifts for Lightning. Yeah. So, yeah, the problem is that, Elon is just so way ahead with his Tesla that it's really hard to compete. I mean, they lowered the price so much on the Tesla. I told you the Tesla is cheaper than a Toyota. So, if any, I wish I had a Tesla referral code, so I can get free self-driving if you use my referral code, because I didn't expect to be talking about Tesla. Anyway, that's funny. 40K for a Model 3. No, 30 some. That's before. 38 for a Model 3 before tax credit. So if you get a tax credit, it's 7,500. So that's 38. That means 31,000. 31,000 for Model 3. What the zuck? I mean, what car do you get for 31,000? My gosh, that's incredible price. If you qualify for what do you call this, for a tax credit. So I don't think he knows what a 03 SVT Lightning is. I thought it was a F-150 Lightning. I don't know what 03 SVT means, but is that not the standard F-150 Lightning electric? So yeah, so guys, I told you I was alt tech, not no tech. I'm not a Luddite, whatever. I'm not one of those. I mean, I do have tech. I'm just very selective about my tech. So no zucking Android Auto, no zucking iOS CarPlay, none of that nonsense. Car insurance in California is expensive, of course. So the insurance for a Tesla is very expensive. Yeah, I'm guessing. Let me just do a rough guess here. It's over 3,000. It's probably $3,700 for Tesla insurance. So what is that? My gosh, it's pretty expensive. It's not like over $300 a month. I do not use a Ring doorbell, but you can use something similar that's safe, and one of the brands is Eufy, EUFY. I know it's made in China, but it doesn't connect to a server, and it's fine. It doesn't send your data to Amazon, so you can use a Eufy doorbell, Ring, battery operated doorbell, and it's inexpensive, and it's fine. The tax rebate is kind of sus for being advantage for higher income people. I don't qualify for any tax rebate, so that doesn't really affect me. It's not. I'm not able to take advantage of that. But the problem with that tax rebate is who can afford an electric car? Obviously, somebody with higher income, and then you cap it. If you cap it, then who's going to buy? Who's going to benefit from the ones who can afford to buy an electric car aren't necessarily going to buy it if you don't give them any benefit. Right, Eufy. That's right. Meticulous is correct. So Ring does have their internal mesh network between other rings, or be careful with that one. Right. Do not use zucking Ring. Yeah, do not use zucking Ring. The nut element, sure. That's fine. I don't know what you mean by putting me in it. What I don't know what that means. The F-150 Lightning was a rear-wheel drive high-power truck meant for street use. It had nothing to do with electric cars. Then what do you call the electric F-150? I thought it was called Lightning. I just read that in the news. F-150 electric called Lightning, and they just laid off the workers on the that make the electric truck. Okay. Well, what do I know? I just read that. Sorry, I don't follow what Ford is doing, so I don't follow that. Tesla insurance can be bought from Tesla cheaper. Yes, but the problem is I have other cars that are not Tesla. So what are you going to do? Have multiple insurance policies? So that's fine when your cars are only Teslas, but if you have a mix of them. And then this is the part that I don't like about the Tesla insurance. The Tesla insurance will then spy on you by looking at your driving habits, and give you a driving score. I hate that. The driving score is not accurate. So it just beeps at me. For example, I drive in this is partly why I don't like AI to judge you. Okay, so I'm driving through this particular section, and there are obstructions. Not cones, but yellow dividers in the road. And every time I go through that and turn in there, the car beeps because it thinks I'm going to hit it. And then it hits me with a driving score saying, we ding you because you went too fast through that. Well, I mean, there's no problem doing it. I've been doing it since forever, and it's just that the car judges me and says, "Oh, you're a bad driver because you do that. You do that." Well, you can ignore it. You don't. The driving score doesn't mean anything. But the insurance, if you have Tesla insurance, they will then look at the driving score. So that's one of the reasons I don't want Tesla insurance, because I don't want any zucking driving score. This is one of the negatives. So F-150 with ICE engine was called Lightning. So what do you call the electric version then? What do you call the F-150 electric? Yeah, that's what I want to know. What do you call that? How much does it cost to replace a Tesla battery? Well, if you break it because you have a collision, then your insurance pays for it. If Tesla, if you break the Tesla battery because of factory issue, they replace it within 8 years. So the warranty is for 8 years, or how many? It's 100,000 miles. So to be honest with you, most Teslas will never need. Those batteries will last 20 years. So everyone is like saying, well, it's so costly to repair the battery, but when do you actually have to do it? The probability of having to do it is so small. I feel like it's just the F-150E. Yeah, I don't know. I gotta go. I'm not familiar with the Ford model, so I don't know. What's the score if the car drives? Actually, the score is perfect when the car drives. So if you let the car drive itself, you get a perfect score. And then if you take over from the autopilot, you get a better score. The EV is still called Ford F-150 Lightning. So how do you know it's electric? They don't say Ford F-150 EV Lightning? What? Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Is battery decay a factor in resale versus a gas car? The batteries are supposed to, under the warranty, they're supposed to not go below 70% after 100,000 miles. 70% after 100,000 miles. So, meaning, if you wait another decade, maybe it'll go down to 50%. You can still use the car. So, yeah, and the car has no maintenance. There are no parts, no oil, no nothing. Change tires, that's it. So, yeah. The F-150 Lightning is all electric. But somebody just told me that it was not. That the F-150 Lightning is some fast version. See? So I don't know who's telling me the truth here. As far as I know, the Lightning meant electric. But, Lightning looks like an electric symbol. So, in any case, guys, I don't select electric cars because I'm supposed to be making some statement about the environment or anything like that. I get an electric car because it suits me as a consumer. I like consumers to decide what they want to do, and I like it because I like it. I don't have to. It's not based on any government instruction or because Biden told me to like it. I just like it because it runs well and I don't have any maintenance, and it runs perfectly. Is your electricity bill significantly higher? I'm told it's slightly higher, but I really have not noticed. Maybe because we don't really. I don't drive that far. I'm pretty much a low miles kind of guy, so I don't go very far. So our cars have low miles, so which means the electric bill is also low. Driving score, yeah. Are you bothered by the fact that Tesla have remotely shut down people's cars? I have no evidence that they have done that. I don't even know if they can do that because there's not necessarily any internet. The internet connection to the car is a subscription, and you can turn it off. So Ace and Tonic said Ford Lightning was a failure. No one's buying it. That is correct. That's what I heard. That is what I heard, that they are overstocked. They have 3 months supply of Lightnings already made and nobody's buying it. But the Tesla lots are empty. So, yeah. So that's a problem. Only Tesla selling electric cars. So it's a very strange world now. I made videos. I made I made videos on Periscope some time ago where I was reminding people about the scary times when we have self-driving cars and what that's going to mean and surveillance and all this. Hasn't happened though. So self-driving cars are not even approved yet for that. So it's like slowing down. The Tesla self-driving is fairly good. It's not perfect, but it's fairly good, and especially on freeways. On freeways, it's excellent. On city driving, it can get messed up. So you do have to keep an eye, but it can actually perform. It's kind of scary. I used it. I used it in San Francisco, and it kind of was aggressive. It worked perfectly, but it was so scary because it was so aggressive at driving. It was like a teenage driver. So, yeah. So for that reason, I was not comfortable with it. So the truck industry is another monster, man. They ain't good at carrying range or towing. Yeah, then watch the Cybertruck. Maybe I should order a Cybertruck. I'm thinking about ordering a Cybertruck. I don't know what the wait is because they're going to start delivery in before the end of the year, probably in December. And I don't know how long the wait is. If you put yourself on the list now, they probably have maybe hundreds of thousands of cars pre-orders ahead. So Tesla pickup trucks have been sold out. None left on the lots. There are no Tesla pickup trucks. It's called the Cybertruck. They're not available yet. They're going to start shipping in December. Looks pretty cool though. Stainless steel body. So yeah, looks pretty cool. Maybe better than an SUV. So I will eat my hat when Tesla automatic driving works. You can eat your hat now because it's pretty much working. It's not 100% perfect, but it's actually mostly working. It depends on the area. Some areas it does it perfectly all the time, but there's some specific cases where it doesn't know what it's seeing. A base Toyota goes for like $26,000, still less expensive than a Tesla. A Tesla at $38,000 minus, but we're talking about, we're not talking about the base Toyota. I mean, what is that price of a Toyota Corolla? That's pretty mid-range, and that's much more expensive than a Model 3, or at least the same price. It works, it kind of just sucks. The Cybertruck looks like the Warthog from Halo. Still, it's unusual, so yeah, it's an unusual vehicle. And the inside, looks like any other Tesla. So it doesn't. If you have a Tesla already, it's not a big deal. It looks the same. And the thing that was cool about the Cybertruck is that, although it's a longer vehicle, the back wheels turn. So when you're making a turn, the back wheels turn as well. So your actual turning circle is much less. So you actually can maneuver in tight places just as easily as with a shorter vehicle because the back wheels turn, kind of like a fire truck. Like a fire truck engine has, somebody steering in the back so they have a driver in the back to steer the back wheels. So yeah, on a Tesla, Tesla Cybertruck that's automatic, which is pretty interesting. So yeah, not every tech is boring. There's some that are interesting. So, have they made Windows unbreakable now? No, Windows is very breakable. Oh, you mean the Cybertruck Windows? Who knows? Who knows if it's actually unbreakable? But it's probably better than your Toyota. But I've used self-driving. I had self-driving on my my Tesla before. I have a different car now, but on my original Tesla, it did come with self-driving. So, yeah. So, like I said, it pretty much works. But it does make some pretty aggressive moves sometimes, and it does get confused. So again, it depends on the route. If you've taken a route and it works, it seems to always work. If you've taken a route where it doesn't work, it doesn't always work. It's the same exact problem. Usually it's because the AI is misunderstanding something. I told you about this place where I drive through, and it just gives me a bad driving score every time I drive there because it doesn't understand what it's seeing. So Windows 10 is impenetrable. Okay, that's funny. I'd be super impressed with any 9-year-old who could, and I'd probably let me roll dirty with it and record them while they get with their Snapchat footage after. Okay. Most of those Teslas catching fire is actually, you will find they're mostly false. They're caused often by something external. A Tesla fell from a cliff here in California. This man with his entire family, I think he was trying to commit suicide and then kill his entire family with him. And he drove the Tesla off the cliff and landed on the beach below. Nobody was hurt. Car was intact. So battery did not blow up or anything. So yeah, so it's a lot of that information about things catching on fire is usually from external forces. Something else hit it, and it's not necessarily from the battery actually lighting up. So yeah. So by the way, so just to tell you again, I'm glad to have this fun chat with you on nonsense. I told you that I improved the services on Braxmail. I also have improved the services on Vice VPN. I've added so many new regions to it so that everyone can have fast service, like added Chicago, Seattle. We'll be adding Miami shortly. And so that everyone in the US and in many countries can have closer access to a VPN server where they can have faster service, because especially in the Midwest, I did not have good coverage in the Midwest before, and so it's kind of slower in the Midwest, and so that's been resolved with Chicago. People in British Columbia in Canada did not get good service because the closest Canadian server was in Toronto. Well, not anymore. We have one in Seattle, so you're just right across the water. So that's pretty good. So I'm happy to be improving the service of these. It increases cost for me. I'm so glad to be able to make sure that I have a good product for you guys. Because where do you get a VPN where you know who the provider is? I mean, you can see my face here. You know who I am. You can ask me questions directly, and I can make sure you have good operations and good service, plus take care of your privacy because I care. Now, the other thing that I want to tell you about is I told you that there's no expected Brax 3 phone anytime soon. So if you're planning on that, I don't think it's going to be in 2023, to be honest with you. The chances of it being in 2023 is getting close to zero. So, and I've been selling a lot of Pixels. Our Pixels are pre-installed with Calyx. Pretty good OS. It's like running great. I'm using one right now, and they're very well made. They have some nice features in there, and they're very, very easy to use. And so I've been using Calyx on different Pixels, and I'm happy to say that I finally got a large stock of Pixels, so I can actually because I ran out. I ran out of Pixels earlier in the week. So we are now back in operation. We have tons of Pixels. So if you want a Pixel phone, and they're very nice, and we sell them in mint condition, some brand new. I think the Pixel 6s are brand new, and it's in the store now. We have stock finally. So it took a while. So the stock arrived yesterday. So we're in good shape. So you can take advantage of that. Talking about VPNs, I told you that emails need VPN, but not Braxmail. Braxmail does not need a VPN. It's the only email you can use safely. We do not block email in the VPN. If you go to many of these providers, like PIA, any of these popular providers, they all block emails, and we don't do that. So you can safely use emails with a VPN. What is the purpose of a VPN if you have to disconnect to use email? I mean, the main thing you want to protect is your email. That's probably the main source of IP address leaks. So I am happy to say that with Braxmail, I made sure I did an audit while I was testing it to make sure that it does in fact not retain IP addresses. And yes, I verified that there is not a single log that collects an IP address. So this is, made sure it's verified. I was going to show it to you online. I was just going to connect to the server, but I got to be careful with that, because of course there could be private, email addresses displayed, and I got to be careful what's shown on there. But otherwise, I don't know when Brax 3 is going to be around. Just so you understand how the suppliers work here. Since phones are made in China for the most part, and then we're actually going to assemble the Brax 3 in the EU, so they're only going to be partially made in China, but they're going to be assembled in the EU. And the problem is that if you do not get your delivery before the Chinese New Year, they stop production for a month. So that means if you don't have your order being constructed by December, you're not going to see it till March. So that's the problem with that. And this is the same with all electronics. So I've used several VPNs and non-blocked email. Well, I've used several VPNs and they have blocked email. And I do tech support all the time with emails not working, and they're saying, why is it not working? Well, because you're using a VPN. It will not block webmail, so maybe you're analyzing that incorrectly. It cannot block webmail. VPN cannot block webmail because that's HTTPS. That is not port 465.587.993, one of those. So, but a VPN, most commercial VPNs will block ports 465.587.993, 153. They will block those, in which case then you can only use webmail. So it's a pain. So Cybertruck is not commercially released yet till November 30 was the announcement. So I'm going to say December. They don't think enough information is in the header. Okay. Asyntonic still has its Pixel. So Pixel 8 is very expensive. Pixel 7 is very expensive, so I don't like selling those for de-Google. If you want a de-Google phone, the highest we stock in the store is the Pixel 6, then we can keep the price at a reasonable level. A Pixel 6 is $620. A Pixel 6a is $420. A Pixel 5 is $419, I think. So these are, that's reasonable price range where you need multiple of those to get an iPhone. So that's what I like the pricing to be. If you want us to do your expensive pixels, like a $1,000 Pixel, you buy it, we do it for you. We can do that, but kind of expensive. So not sure it's worth it, guys. Not sure it's worth it. The one I have is not blocking 993. Yes, but what about outgoing? 587. Well, it depends on the VPN, but I'm telling you that, many of the popular VPNs do block. For sure, private internet access, PIA does. I believe ExpressVPN does. Don't know about Nord. But many of them do block VPNs. It's a very frustrating experience. What happens if your Tesla run out of power? You might get zucked. Do you have a plan for that? Kong in Gu. I've traveled to San Francisco and back with so many superchargers along the way, and I don't usually stop for more than 15 minutes. It has been a very good experience. It's so easy. 15 minutes. Gives you a chance to stretch. 15 minutes is not that long of a time. So often, although I'm only needing to charge 15 minutes, I charge 20 minutes just to give it a little extra. Or maybe if I'm using, going to use the bathroom, maybe give it 25 minutes. But it doesn't really... It's so convenient. There's so many superchargers. This is not true of all electric cars, just as true of Tesla. So you're tempted to get that Pixel 8. I think would last me many, many years. Well, a Pixel 6 will last you many, many years and not cost anywhere near that. So Pixel 6 is this year's model. So it's this year's model. It's not last year's model. This year's model. So, yeah. So if you bought a Pixel 8 now, then it's just at the beginning end of next year's model. That's only a, 1 year model difference for triple the price. Triple the price. Does SSS have a neutral setting if you need to roll it without power? No. No. Is it possible to get Brax 2 batteries replaced? I can't imagine why you would need to replace a battery on a Brax 2 unless you broke it, in which case we sell units for $50, broken phones. You can take the parts from there, including the batteries. A typical phone lasts 2,000 charge cycles. That's easily, 5 years? 4 to 5 years? So it's not likely that unless you actually physically broke it or put water in it or something, I don't imagine you would need to replace your battery on a Brax phone. So yes, so we have $50 phone for parts in the store. And if you broke the entire phone, we can sell you a replacement to the phone, complete replacement. You don't even have to return the current phone for $250. So that's pretty big discount from the original price. So that's available. $250 plus shipping. Only 1 minute left. Okay, guys. So thank you for watching. And the next week's video is going to be about antivirus. somebody asked me why I don't use an antivirus. And I've answered that before, but I have different reasoning now. And that will be explained in the video. So thank you for watching, my friends. And I'll see you next time. And please join us on robbraxman.com.